you know, TVA lakes, they can throw you for a loop sometimes, especially this time of year. Fish are moving up, they're moving out, they're coming in, they're going. It's just kind of crazy. To be successful on these lakes sometimes is when you find fish, you don't want to leave them. You have to figure out how to get them to bite. I had a little bit of hiccup this morning when I thought, man, maybe these fish aren't going to be here. And lo and behold, I had to wait them out, and they showed up, and I started catching them pretty good. So it's just one of those things where making a decision on a TVA body of water like Lake Guntersville, making that decision to stay or go is probably the biggest decision you can make. You know, this is kind of a funny format, especially when you got people that come here and all they want to do is catch fish. And this is a great place to do it right here on Lake Guntersville. You can catch some big giant ones here if you target those, but as far as just catching fish and numbers, kind of like we did today, it was just putting it together and slowing down and fishing, and when you find them, you don't leave. So that's one of the biggest things that I had to do today.
Hey everybody, Ott DeFoe here, and I'm a Knoxville native, born and raised up in Knoxville, and I live in Granger County now, and I actually live on the Holston River, and the Holston and the French Broad Rivers are what make the Tennessee River. So the Tennessee River chain starts in Knoxville, not far from where I live, and you know, flows all the way down through Kentucky Lake out to the Ohio, meets Ohio down there and onto the Mississippi. But that whole TVA chain, you know, we've got a lot of Great Lakes in Tennessee that are managed by TVA, and they do a fantastic job. But to be, you know, be successful on a lot of these TVA lakes, especially the Tennessee River lakes, even more so, is really understanding the nuances with the current. It is essentially just a dammed up river system, and you know, they can move water throughout it, they can raise the water, they can drop the water, and those little differences of water rising, water dropping, current, you know, picking up, or current dropping back, those little differences is really what makes you gotta have to make those adjustments, you know, based on those small differences. And you know, this time of the year, just generally speaking, TVA lakes aren't the best for actual sight fishing. Obviously the fish spawn here, and you catch a lot of fish that are spawning, but you don't often do it really locking down sight fishing. That's something I kind of got hung up with a little bit today personally, but it is, you know, knowing those little nuances of the TVA chain can help make you successful out there on the water.
You know, fishing the TVA, I absolutely love that Tennessee River, you know, from Guntersville all the way to Kentucky Lake and everywhere in between. It is super fun to be able to be out here, but the key is you got to stay moving. You know, current is a big thing here on that part of this Tennessee River chain. So if there's no water moving, you got to definitely move around to find some biting fish. But when that current's moving, they're going to be biting somewhere. So you better be moving. When you land on them, they're going to be biting. If you're not catching anything, time to go find a new spot.
I'm Anthony Gagliardi. We're here fishing the red crest on Lake Guntersville. It's a TVA lake. You know, I've had some pretty good history. You know, pretty good success on the TVA. Kentucky. I had my first win on Kentucky Lake way back in the day, and just, you know, have tended to fare pretty well on this river system. And I think it's just a matter of being versatile. Like I catch a lot of my fish on this river system finesse fishing, and you know, a lot of the guys that fish it, you know, they're power fishermen, and you can obviously catch fish like that. But you know, I've always allowed myself to, you know, to fish with finesse techniques, even when the conditions might not necessarily call for it. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been able to hold my own here. You know, when I won, I was obviously cranking that year. It wasn't much finesse going on, but you know, as the years have gone by, the fishing's gotten tougher, and these fish that school up, and with the sonar and with the mapping we have now, so many of the places these fish use, everybody knows about them, and so you kind of have to, you know, rely on the finesse techniques to generate bites, just because the fish are getting pressured so much. So I think that's one of the keys to my success, is just, you know, keeping a spinning rod in my hand a lot of times, and using some, you know, lighter line and finesse baits, and just getting bites when bites might be hard to come by.
Hey guys, Alton Jones Jr. here. Just wrapped up day one of Red Crest, and you know, Lake Guntersville is an awesome fishery, as is the whole TVA. You know, one of the keys to the TVA is just understanding current, what current does to fish. Another thing is understanding grass. You know, if you can understand current and grass, the TVA begins to get a lot easier. These fish, the current creates hard bottom in some places, soft bottom in others, and then understanding the different types of grass. There's probably 10 different types of grass here in Lake Guntersville. Knowing what grass holds fish different times of year. Right now it kind of seems to be the eelgrass. Other times of year it's the hydrilla and the milfoil, but knowing those seasonal patterns, what time of year the bass like each types of grass is really key.
What's going on, guys? Jake Lawrence here. Just wrapped up championship day of Red Crest. We had a fantastic week. We finished up 5th today. I tell you, Guntersville is alive and well, just like the remaining TVA lakes. This one is a special one, though. This is absolutely chock full of grass. We've got all the habitat and areas for these fish to spawn. That was a really big key for me this week. Of course, Guntersville gets a lot of pressure. These fish are fairly wise to a lot of our tricks. And my key to success this week, and a tip that I can give you for any TVA lake, is when these fish are spawning, if you can stay as far away from those fish as possible. I would oftentimes zip through an area, find the general locations of where these beds were, and come back 20 or 30 minutes later and make a bomb, long, like ledge style cast at them. If they didn't know you were there, you could catch them on the first cast every time.
Hey guys, Dave Dudley here, talking about TVA lakes, but in a situation when this lake has a lot of wind and a lot of rain like we did today, one of the best things you can do is pick up a retrieve bait. What I mean by that is a buzz bait, a spinner bait, or a square bill, or a bladed bait, something that you're going to be casting and winding, covering a lot of territory. But what you want to look for is grass that is topped off, where they're not buried down in it, grass that's thick to one height but not sporadic enough, and those fish will be stacked there. So keep that in mind next time you're on a TVA lake.
Here's a few tips about TVA lakes. You kind of got to fish them two ways, right? You can fish really fast and try to cover as much water as you can. Realistically, this time of the year, 1st of April, you can't fish slow enough. You honestly fish right over fish. When they start to spawn, they get up all around that grass and you see white spot, white spot, white spot, and you might catch one off those 3 white spots, but what you really don't realize is there's 5 more white spots under your boat. There's 5 more there that you just can't see. If you slow way down, you'd seem to catch more fish on these TVA lakes this time of the year. Pre-spawn, of course, you can stay moving. You can, throw a trap, throw a moving bait, and get out on the edges of grass and stuff like that. But for me in April, I like to really slow down. You don't have to make long runs, but if you do, make sure when you get there you fish super, super slow, and they like bigger baits. TVA system has a lot of gizzard shad in it, so you don't have to play around with the little stuff, man. Get the big baits. They're used to seeing the bigger bait fish swim around.